Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, and welcome to a birthday party, and it's one to which everybody is invited because it's running through the course of the year. It is 18 years since one of the most famous wine brands in South Africa came into being, and it's about 8 years since they became the biggest selling bottled wine brand in South Africa. The brand is Four Cousins. They are 18 this year, and they are celebrating accordingly. Now, this isn't anything that's been paid for. They simply sent me a rather large gift, as I suppose they did many in the winemaking industry, and asked me just to taste it and see what I thought. And one of the first things I wanted to make absolutely sure of was whether the Four Cousins actually existed, because it sounds like it could just be a cool brand, sounds family oriented, gets people thinking, oh, they've all done stuff together, but do they really exist? Well, they do. Philip is the guy who does all the office work, Henny and Neil are the viticulturalists, and then Bustle is the winemaker. Together, they are the Retiefs, they are the Four Cousins, and they're the guys behind this particular brand of wine. It's out of Robertson. It's wine that's in the more entry-level space. It's not overly expensive. A lot of it's on the slightly sweeter version, but it's a collection that has done extraordinarily well. And if it's done extraordinarily well, it must mean people like it for both the quality of the wine and the price point. And the combination has allowed them to get to their 18th birthday with a flourish. So send this along, and I'm going to see exactly what's in my gift from Four Cousins. So here's my birthday invitation, I suppose. The 18th birthday, confirming the names of them. And started in 2000. They started with magnums, so they've always gone with the big bottles, and I think we've all had a large bottle of Four Cousins at one point or another. Now, it's not just wine. What's also come with it is a collection of macaroons, and what they've suggested is that I take these macaroons and try them with the different wines. So I'll set those aside for a second and first find out what the wine actually is, and then see which macaroon to pair with which. So what have we got here? There is a bottle of the Sweet Rosé. This is their Sauvignon Blanc. So that's a little unusual. Some Brut sparkling wine, so not Cup Classique, but sparkling wine. The Natural Sweet Red. So red wine with a certain sweetness to it. This is their Blush, sweet sparkling wine in a bright pink. It all screams out 18th birthday party, doesn't it? So I'm going to line those up. I'll see which macaroon is supposed to go with which, and we'll turn this into a wine and food tasting and see how they pair and what the Four Cousins is drinking like on its 18th birthday. There's actually a guide in here as to which macaroon I should have with which wine. So there is a pecan and fig macaroon, I think that's that one, and that's to go with the Sauvignon Blanc. A vanilla macaroon, and that goes with the Natural Sweet White, which I don't appear to have, so I'll try it instead with the Blush. Strawberry macaroon, that's for either of the rosés. We'll pop that one on there. There is a raspberry macaroon, and that goes with the Natural Sweet Red. I'm not sure which will be sweeter, the Sweet Red or the macaroon, but that's Daniela's accompanying work for the wine. So thank you, Daniela, appreciate it, very thoughtful of you. Get rid of that. Voila, and let's give the first wine a crack. We've come to expect MCC, champagne, sparkling wine, to stem from Chardonnay or Pinot Noir, Meunier, those sorts of grapes. Sauvignon Blanc, not something you'll find with bubbles terribly often, but maybe the difference is going to make it stand out all the more. So that's foaming up like a really good bubble bath. And certainly and all of a sudden those bubbles appear to have gone. That's calmed down very quickly indeed. The nose is certainly not what you'd pick on a normal Cap Classique. A little bit sweeter, a little bit fresher. Let's see how it pans out. And it tastes like a slightly bubbly Sauvignon Blanc. That's pretty much exactly what it is. You can tell that effervescence has almost gone completely. It now looks like it is just a normal Sauvignon Blanc. There's still a little bit of effervescence on the palate, but it hasn't lasted terribly long. So not the most bubbly of bubblies perhaps, but it is something different. Captures the Sauvignon Blanc nicely enough. It's not quite as sweet as I thought it might be given the nose. Summer's day out at Vinover, and this could start your day off quite nicely. The trick though is of course to pair it with the macaroon. So this is the fig macaroon. That's a very nice macaroon. And that does work quite nicely. After the sweeten of this, the wine tastes just a little drier. Still not as bubbly as I'd like it to be, but the combination, it works well. They get on as well as two Four Cousins might, and so we're off to a pretty good start. So first bottle of bubbles done, first macaroon done. The bubbles were nice, the macaroon was terrific. There's a new business waiting for you there, Vinover and Empire. Let's go on to the second bubbles, and this is the blush. Now the colour and the nature, something we're seeing a lot more of, a lot more rosé in terms of Cup Classique or champagne, but this is a sweet version, and it's very openly so. The sweet sparkling, they call it the blush, it's a cool, fun name. It's not suggesting anything too serious. It is telling you though that you probably don't want to be telling your dentist that you're drinking this, because it is going to be decidedly sweet. It also has a vanilla macaroon to go with it, which I'm looking forward to almost as much as I am the wine. Doesn't erupt quite the same way, and those bubbles look to be staying there a little longer. That's a lovely colour. You've certainly got me on the aesthetics of it. It's a really beautiful pale rose, and it's just catching the light of the cellar delightfully. Woohoo! They're a little longer. That's a lovely colour. Certainly got me on the aesthetics of it. I generally love beautiful pale rose context, a straw wine, a late noble harvest, a Shannon, but normally with a more regular wine with bubbles, sweet wine isn't usually my thing. Let's see if this can persuade me otherwise. Whew. And I think I'm probably going to stick to my approach. It's not as sweet as I thought, certainly. Sometimes you find sweet wine can be cloying. It can really just stick on your palate in a most nauseating way. This isn't that. It's not overly sickeningly sweet. It's a lot more understated than I was anticipating, but still probably a little too sweet for my palate. What I think it might do though is play off a macaroon rather nicely, and I just happen to have one. I don't know who Daniela is, but I like you very, very much. And again, as with the previous wine, but in this case more so, because this is sweet, it takes some of the edge off the wine, and it just softens it slightly in terms of the sweetness on the palate. Individually, probably wouldn't be drinking too much of this myself, but with this macaroon, it's particularly nice. So maybe an afternoon high tea, loads of petit fours, and this could be the answer to your drinking conundrum. Again, lovely colour, and very nice with the macaroon. So the bubbles are down, but we stick with the same colour and more of the rosé. Or if you've read a recent copy of British GQ, it was one with Jeff Goldblum on the corner cover. Can't remember which month it was. They had a big article on brosé, which apparently all the cool young banker types in England are drinking when they go out for their manly breast-beating evenings of spending vast amounts of clients' money. So this is the sweetened rosé, a very intense colour, you can see from the bottle. And this is recommended by the winemaker Bustle, and that is his real name, it's not a typo. Recommended by Bustle as something with a spicy food, which that sweetness could well offset, much like you often have something like banana with a curry, or also desserts. And perhaps just as I like sweet or dessert wine, maybe this is something for a sweet dish to go with it. Let's see just how sweet it is. The sweet rosé from Four Cousins. So as you can see, this colour is a little darker than its predecessor that had that lovely light rose. This has got a little more intensity to the colour and a very, very firm direction from the nose as to where you're going with this particular wine. It is going to be sweet. But again, I haven't tasted yet, but again on the nose, not quite as sweet as I was expecting. Let's see if the wine follows suit. And again, it's probably a little too far on the sweeter side for me personally, but it's not nearly as sweet as I was expecting. I'm really anticipating that mouthful of sugar. So it's a little lighter, and I think that's probably the style that all sweet wines are going, where they're not trying to be overpoweringly sweet and sticky, and this is definitely lighter than I was anticipating. And I think Bussel's probably quite right. Chilled sundowners, something sweet, or perhaps a curry, it could do a pretty good job of taking it on. Now, but let's try and prove that. This is macaroon number 3. This is strawberry. I love strawberry macaroons, probably my favourite type. My hopes are high. I think I'm falling in love with Daniela. These are glorious. How do they go with the wine? Well, again, this is going to sound like a bit of deja vu, but it's just made this taste not quite so sweet, and the pairing is really nice. The strawberry on this, and the colour does a great job, but the strawberry on it, the sweetness there's kind of a pared down version in that wine, and they complement each other rather nicely. Oh, these macaroons are good. So on to the last of the wines, and this is the natural sweet red. Now, if you're looking for reasons to drink this particular wine, I've got one more for you, and it applies to this, applies to the previous wine. The alcohol volume. If you're looking at a bottle of red wine in South Africa, somewhere between 12.5 and 15, maybe 15.5%. That's usually the space in which most South African wine, especially red wine, will operate. This is 8%. So it is a lot less than you might have expected. So a low alcohol wine with a bit of sweetness to it. That's the natural sweet red. It's quite a quirky nose. You can pick up the saccharine nature of it, but there's also a little bit of spice in there as well. Now, there's clearly a big market for slightly sweeter red wine. You look at the success of 4th Street, the Distell brand. It's done particularly well right across Africa. And this is a wine that fits into a similar mould. For people who perhaps just getting into the wine industry, just starting to drink wine, it's going to be a lot less abrasive on the palate. It's maybe not quite as nuanced or complex as some of the red wine you might normally drink, but as a guiding light into the world of red wine, this is probably your pathway. Again, for me, the sweeter red, probably not something I'm going to be drinking on a regular basis, but the fact that they have now for 8 years been the largest selling bottled wine producer in South Africa means they're doing something right, means they've found a market, means there are a lot of people of whom this wine and its brethren, its other 3 cousins here, are certainly finding a degree of appeal. What's really appealing now is the last of the macaroons. This is the raspberry macaroon to go with the natural sweet red. Not quite there with the strawberry, but a very, very, very close second. I think I'm going to be doing some online shopping from Daniela. But what I really like here is that there's been quite a bit of thought given to the different types of macaroons, and so much of the wine we drink is around food, around meals, and we often think, well, what wine will go with this food, when the point of departure for me should often be, well, what food should we produce, should we serve to bring the best out of the wine that we want to drink, particularly if it's a rather special bottle or a rather unique bottle. In this case, these macaroons have brought out a great dimension to the bottles of wine that we've tasted, and although it's wine that sits to a slightly different space to what I'll normally drink, the macaroons have made me really enjoy the experience. So a very happy birthday to the guys from Van Loveren. Thanks for some great macaroons. And well done on what you're doing for the wine industry in South Africa, because you are selling a huge amount of wine, you're getting people drinking wine, and you're getting them into a space from which will only grow a bigger, more diverse and more enthusiastic group of wine drinkers. A very, very happy birthday and many more to the four cousins. Cheers.